Hi, I'm Cory Yarmuth with Legend Outdoors. I'm also one of the BigJon Sports Pro Staffers. And what I'm bringing here to you today is a little bit of tips to keep in mind during the winter. Something that a lot of guys will neglect. And the first time you get out on the water in the spring or the summer and you put a downrigger on and you start sending that thing down, all of a sudden you have all kinds of problems. So what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today is some just preventative maintenance, something that you can do during the winter. Keep yourself occupied when you're not on the ice or when you're sitting at home wondering what to do. One of the things I like to do is I like to loosen up my spool. This has Belleville washers in it, and I want to loosen that up because I don't want those washers to take a set. Very similar to what we do with our rod, our reels, whether they're trolling reels or bait casting reels or spinning reels. We want to loosen that drag up. Another thing we want to do is check our cable. Make sure that we don't have any frays, any strings or strands that are coming loose. Check our connection at the ball. That is a vital connection. The last thing we want to do is lose a ball when we send it down, or worse, a probe. I use the True Track relay connection. It's a pressure connection or friction connection. A lot of guys like to use the crimps. If you use the crimps, double crimp them. Make sure that everything looks good. If it any question, redo it. Another thing we want to look at is we want to look at our pulleys. Make sure our pulleys are all moving smoothly. Make sure that we don't have any wear. The last thing we want to have is any kind of wear on that pulley. We have something that could cause nicks or frays in our cable. We're in for trouble when we get out on the water. Throw a little bit of lubricant on them. Nothing extra. Don't go crazy with it because a lot of them will collect dirt. You just want to just lubricate them just a little bit. Another major part. This is the BigJon Captain's Pack electric rigger, but the same thing holds true for both electrics and manuals. We have a little spring in here that connects to our line counter. This spring can easily be stretched out. So what I like to do is I like to pop that spring right off and leave that spring just hanging. That way it doesn't loosen up and stretch over the change in temperatures. Another important thing we want to do is we want to inspect our motors. Make sure everything's clean. Make sure we don't have any cracks. Make sure we don't have any places where we can get water ingress. Check our cable connections down here. We want to make sure that it's good and strong and tight. We don't have any frayed wires. Make sure our circuit breaker cover is intact. And check our switch out. Make sure our switch has good positive detents. Also check the other end of our cable. Make sure that everything's intact there. Make sure everything looks good. A simple insurance is get yourself a cover for your downrigger motor. I like to use the BigJon cover up my motors. When I take this off the boat, it goes on a shelf. That shelf, I store them on there. Everything's intact. Everything's out of the way. It's not getting bumped and banged around. For those guys that keep them on their boats, this is a very simple piece of insurance. So basically, this is just a quick little tip thing to look at for the winter, something to keep in mind. So when you do get out in the water in the spring, you get out there, you get everything set up, you drop your downrigger down, and all of a sudden, boom, something goes wrong. You don't want that to happen. So that's why we want to do that during the winter. We want to check everything out, make sure everything's good. That way when we do hit the water, we don't have any kind of problems. So this is Cory Yarmuth with Legend Outdoors, talking about BigJon Sports and downriggers. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you took away a little bit of something. Thank you.